let's start here. Because there are some things yesterday that came out about Kyler Murray that I thought was really interesting. But before I even really get there, part of the thing that comes off as Kyler Murray being overrated or Kyler Murray getting too much flack is because of his contract. Because he was paid really early. And if there's one thing that Steve Keim did for the Phoenix Suns, if there's one thing Steve Keim did for the Arizona Cardinals, that contract has aged fairly well. So it begs the question, is Kyler Murray the best value at quarterback in the NFL? And then you ask yourself, well, come on. No, there's clearly some other players that are better than Kyler Murray in the NFL with a better contract. And yeah, there is one. Let me read you off some of the people who have a contract higher than Kyler Murray's. Dak Prescott, you could argue if he is better than Kyler, but Dak Prescott, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, Tua Tagovailoa, Jared Goff, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. So Kyler Murray is not in that tier one of guys. He is no longer a top 10 paid quarterback in the NFL. So let me read you some of the quarterbacks who make roughly right around what Kyler Murray makes. So there's Kyler, and then there's Deshaun Watson, Kirk Cousins, Matthew Stafford. Patrick Mahomes is here as well, but that's because he's clearly just a team guy and wants to be able to allow them to have team flexibility. But once you get past Patrick Mahomes' egregiously great contract for the Chiefs, it's Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, Kirk Cousins, Matthew Stafford, Derek Carr, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith, Justin Fields. Outside of Matthew Stafford, who is clearly better than Kyler Murray, you will get no arguments from me there. Where's the contract that is worse than Kyler's, but also the better player? I look at some of these people, or I look at some of these quarterbacks behind Kyler. Kyler's contract went from what looked to be an overpay to what is now one of the best values in the NFL. What's the argument for Jordan Love being better than Kyler Murray? I might even agree with you. But right now, Jordan Love's got one playoff win, and last year he was a little underwhelming after that first year of starting. Jared Goff, good quarterback, but does anyone believe in Jared Goff in the big moments? Tua Tagovailoa, Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott, those are guys who all have higher contracts than Kyler Murray. And you could argue he's better than all of those guys. Whether it's Dak Prescott, Jordan Love, Tua Tagovailoa, Trevor Lawrence, Jared Goff, Jalen Hurts, you can argue, sure, Jalen Hurts and Trevor Lawrence. I'm sorry, you could argue Jalen Hurts and who's the guy in there? You could argue Jalen Hurts and Jordan Love, and some of those guys are better than Kyler. You could argue Jared Goff and Jalen Hurts are better than Kyler Murray. I would totally give you that. And I wouldn't give you too many arguments because Jalen Hurts won a Super Bowl, although I don't think they're that far away. But outside of that, we're just going to blindly agree that Justin Herbert is better than Kyler Murray? What has he done? I know that he is the what-if scenario king, but what has he done? Now, on paper, sure. Would I rather Justin Herbert? Probably. But does he warrant a bigger contract pretty significantly over Kyler's? Dak Prescott is not clearly better than Kyler Murray. You can make the argument he is, but he's not clearly better, and he makes $60 million a year. Trevor Lawrence, what's the argument there? So Kyler Murray has now went from what is one of the more egregious contracts in the NFL because of, you could argue, did he deserve that? To now he is one of the biggest bargains, not just at quarterback in the NFL, but in the NFL as a whole. There is real implications on what Kyler Murray has done for this team in terms of his contract. And it doesn't really matter what Kyler is going to do when it comes to this season in the NFL. Unless he goes on an absolute heater this year, MVP caliber season, conference championship appearance, he's not getting another contract. So you ask yourself, where does Kyler Murray rank? Probably right outside the top 10 of quarterbacks in the NFL. And I want to put him in the top 10, but there's no argument really at this point to be made. He's got 0 playoff wins. And outside of that half season of his 2021 campaign where he nearly won the MVP halfway through, and then he got injured, there's really no argument to him being a top 10 quarterback, although I've been trying to fight that battle as well. It is pretty impressive what Kyler Murray's contract has evolved into. It is now not one of the bigger headaches and not a contract people point to and laugh. Now it's, man, that contract's pretty good. Because you look at Dak Prescott's, Trevor Lawrence, Jordan Love, Tua Tagovailoa, and Justin Herbert's deals, all guys, none of them had any playoff significant wins. None of them have been just absolute ballers in the playoffs. Listen, Kyler Murray, you could argue he's either better or worse than those guys, but there's no reason for those guys to all be ahead of Kyler Murray in terms of contracts. And Kyler's not getting a new one anytime soon. And then it brings me to this. Not only has Kyler Murray's contract grown to be a bargain, but he is changing who he is mentally. And this is something with Kyler that we've been worried about for a while. It's not just necessarily the physical game for Kyler. We know how good he is there. I've argued that Kyler Murray is clearly one of the most talented players in the NFL. It's not that for Kyler. It's the mental side. It's the, I hate this. It's the too school for school mentality. That's what it is. Kyler Murray for a long time just played the too cool card. He has evolved mentally into what is a mature quarterback in the NFL. Kyler Murray over in South Korea, or he's over in I do not want to get those two wrong. I'm pretty sure it's South Korea at this point for Kyler Murray. Yes, South Korea. I do not want to get those two mixed up. So Kyler Murray, who's on a trip in South Korea, obviously had a couple of quotes, and I read this article. It was from Around the NFL, or I guess I should say an NFL article by Keith Petra. And basically, Kyler used to be a we didn't do enough guy. But Kyler Murray was quoted saying this: I think the ultimate goal for us is to win the Super Bowl. And we haven't done that yet, and I haven't done enough. Do you know what that does for me? That is exactly what I want to see from my quarterback. Kyler, when people get mad at him now for looking sad on the sidelines or sulking a little bit, like sometimes that's just competitive fire that I don't get mad at him for. He's had some issues in the past of what was fighting with Cliff Kingsbury on the sidelines. That's not the same as Kyler Murray being pissed after a loss. But Kyler has changed his mentality from we didn't do enough to I didn't do enough. He is embracing the quarterback position mentally. He is falling on the sword. First to give credit to other players, first one to take the blame for a loss. That's what you need to see from Kyler. He is evolving off of last year to this year as a leader of this team. It's what just makes me want to pray and just get ecstatic about what Kyler Murray could be for the Cardinals. It's why when people come after me, oh, you're a Kyler hater. No one wants Kyler Murray to succeed more than me. I don't want to go back into quarterback purgatory. And when I see his evolve nature of mentally embracing himself in the quarterback position, when I see him evolve from what at times was a little bit of a snobby player coming into the NFL, a too cool for school mentality, to this, I haven't done enough to win a Super Bowl. Not we, I. If Kyler Murray can just put it all together on the field, and this year there are no excuses. If you combine him with his pretty cheap bargain contract now outside of the top 10, with his evolution mentally at the quarterback position, and using his physical talents to all put it together, the sky's the limit. And Kyler Murray, I believe, can do that. It's just going to have to put pen to paper. Okay.